Hey, welcome to the Tim Kulig Free Music Podcast. I'm your host, Tim Kulig, and oh boy, it's been quite the week. Quite the quite the journey so far. I was in the final row of finishing up a couple of different albums recently, and today's Friday what is today? Friday the 11th? Yeah, July 11th. Excuse me. And I'm exhausted. I had a mad dash the last couple of weeks to finish up some stuff, and very intense stuff, very good stuff, very good finishing up of the albums that I had sitting in the wings. I still have one of the 2-part meditation albums to get out to y'all, but I managed to get one of them done. I got the pan drum album done. I got the 8-bit video game music done. And the first Simplicity and the 8-bit video game music is out there already. It's already on the site. And in fact, it's on Pixabay and SoundCloud as well. The pan drum, that one's probably going to be sometime next week on the site. And then I've got a shoot that I'm going on in New York for a couple of days and getting some B-roll and footage for a project I'm working on. And then when I'm back, I'll have those on SoundCloud and Pixabay as well. That's the pan drum album. And then chasing that, I will have the Complexity album and also some other stuff. So I want to get into that list with you. I want to get into, because that's going to be a third and fourth quarter thing. How much of it I get to, I'm not really sure. But I can tell you this much. I hit 850 tunes with the pan drum album, which is insane because I started the year at 727, and it's looking like, it's July 11th, so there's a really strong possibility I'm going to breach that mid to upper 900s or possibly even breach 1,000, and that's the goal this year. And if I miss the mark and I come up a little short, I'm not going to be sad about it, because already I feel like I've gone much further, much earlier in the year than I had anticipated. So kudos to that. Big time. I'm going to try and share my screen today because I want to show you guys some new stuff. So let's see if I can do this. You're going to bear with me here. All right, here we go. On the website, I have a new section, and it's the blog section. Ta-da! Been talking about this for a few months, and Ryan Michelle, thank you very much, finally got this out and did a bunch of stuff and put this in place, and now I have a blog feature right on my website. What this will likely end up evolving into is I will likely have, this will be paralleled on my Patreon, but this has a lot of functionality. So what's going to happen in here, there's linkage out, so you can go straight, like here's like one about Explorations, that's the 8-bit video game, and then boom, brings you right out to the album. Fantastic, right? So we've got that. We've got links in here. There's going to be stuff embedded, which I'm really excited about too. I'm going to be able to embed videos, embed MP3s. So if I'm working on something and I have like this idea that I'm jotting around or doing something with, I can share that with the community and everything. So I like that idea a lot. And there'll be other functionality in here as well. So, but it's a feature that I wanted for quite some time. It wasn't a priority feature when I released and opened the website in the beginning, but this is honestly, it kind of just rounds out a lot of what I have available on the website now. And it'll eventually have, once I populate it with several blog posts, I'm going to incorporate it into the main screen here. So then now the main screen is going to have the blog and also this sizzle reel / folder on YouTube with a bunch of highlight things and everything else. So kind of exciting. I'm kind of a big fan of this whole thing rounding out. And if you didn't know, I'm also doing an affiliate page. So if you happen to be a creator, or eventually there'll be other things on here that maybe you as an end user will be able to use. For sure, Riverside. I have plenty of podcasters that use my music. Riverside's a phenomenal platform, and it's actually what I'm recording on right now. And I love it to pieces. It's great. Some of my software and software instrumentation will be on here. Clark Audio is one of them. They're fantastic. Frequency Digital, that's the folks that help me collect royalties from the YouTube platform. and Audio Design Desk. I had a partnership with them. I have a couple of sound packs on there, and they are a modern DAW that you can literally score soundtracks and stuff with and drop in people's music and everything. It's really, really cool. So that's the update on the website. Let's talk about the music that's coming up. So remaining third quarter here, and this is actually a huge amount of stuff in the third quarter I'm thinking about. I've seen online, there's a bunch of people using my binaural stuff again, and that's kind of blurs the line between meditation and binaural beats. Very popular, and there's been an uptick in frequency type music, so I'm interested to explore this again. It may spawn into like the fourth quarter and first quarter next year and beyond, but I'm going to do some research on it first because I really want to understand the foundation of what that's all about and incorporate it into music properly. Don't think I have it on this list. I probably should add it. So I'm just going to do 70s. I'll do work in real time. Yeah, 60s and 60s. I had Enigmatorium had asked me about rock music, like traditional rock music, 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s. And I used some tools to do some research on it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do albums from each decade, and I'm going to utilize some of the most popular songs from those decades to kind of spawn ideas off of and spawn instrumentation, reverb, effects, the overall mix. Like, these music was a lot of straight to 2-track. If you don't know what that means, it means basically there was a band in a room and they had a stereo recording and everybody was set up in a certain way with a certain volume and they just caught it all at once. And it didn't allow for a lot of dynamicism in production, in the post process of producing music. That's too many P words at once. But it had a very unique and specific sound. So it's stuff like that I want to capture when emulating these different decades. And the music that came up in some of the research that I did was really kind of incredible. And it's stuff in a lot of ways I've resonated with or I've listened to in the past. So it feels like a really cool project to do over the course of the next 6 to 12 months. I definitely want to make sure I get at least one of those albums out for Madeline before the end of the year because she was excited to see what I can do with that. She also wanted me to do some organ music, like not churchy organ, but organ music in general. I mean, for some reason it always devolves to that to me anyway. I grew up Roman Catholic, so organ music just automatically I think church. But I don't think the music is going to be that. I think it's going to have that kind of vibe, but maybe more, I don't know. We'll see what happens. I mean, I didn't know what was going to come out of me for the pan drum music, and I got some initial responses to that were very positive with the people that I've shared it with so far. So, fun experimenting. Again, it's like I've said in previous episodes, you go into some of these genres that you've never played or never really explored before, and sometimes I can knock out 8 tunes in a matter of a couple of weeks, or sometimes they marinate and sit on my hard drive for 6 months to a year. And the pan drum thing was kind of like that. I had pan drum music on my hard drive for about 6 months, and just decided recently I had 5 or 6 songs. I think it was like 5. Came up with 2 new ones, and then decided to do a variation of tempo because some of them had more of a meditative feel and I wanted them to be a little quicker or vice versa. So that ended up working out pretty well. It gave me a 10-song album that I feel like you guys will probably really enjoy. And again, I'll have it in the show notes. Some of the new stuff that's come out, feedback is always awesome to me. I like to see what people are using, what they like, everything about that. Just ping me at timkuligfreemusic@gmail.com and just give me your thoughts, because it's what helps drive me to make the next thing. And I love the feedback. I love knowing what you liked, what maybe didn't resonate with you as much, but it's surprising to me what people dig and what people don't. It's always a goof. with that being said, I've got the second meditation album in the loop. I should just say that, second meditation. And dinosaur music. That's a long story. You went to this place called Dinosaur World up just outside of Tampa, and they had what could only be described as some of the most antiquated theme music in this quote unquote walking park, where they basically have like life-size dinosaurs, and it's mostly a kid-related place, but it was on a bucket list of places to explore and have an experience, and the experience being like, how are they like scoring this thing? How are they like putting music to this thing? And the music was like super old and hadn't been updated. Clearly it was done a couple decades ago. Literally heard like Junos and like DX7s and like old school FM synthesizers, that kind of thing going. And I'm like, probably could use an upgrade. So that might be happening. That might be coming down the pipeline. I've got some synthwave coming, and that's going to be an offshoot of a project I'm doing for Observable Radio. There's going to be a number of tracks, I'm sure, that aren't going to work in the project I'm doing for him. And ultimately, that's going to spawn another synthwave album. D&D music, I so want to get into some more orchestral stuff again. I've been so busy with the other projects I've had so far this year that I want to get back into that and do a really good volume 4 on that. So hoping to get some tracks together in the next several weeks. And podcast beds. I've been talking about doing this forever, and I feel like I'm beating my head against the wall. I don't know what it is. I don't know what the resistance is. Something else keeps coming up in front of it, or I feel like they're going to be too simple, or there's functionality to having something that goes in there, doesn't take away from a voiceover or just a bed that's in the background that just gives a vibe and a mood. So I'm going to do some research. That's one of the ones I'm going to do some research on too, and just get a feeling for, hey, let's get into this. Let's get an understanding of what's going on and what the feel and the vibe should be, what the instrumentation should be, and get that set up. And that being said, I'm actually building templates in Logic Pro for the 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s stuff. And it's based on some suggestion I did through like ChatGPT and some other research, literally telling it what I had for resources and what should I use to emulate basically that sound, the sound of that era. And it came back with some amazing suggestions, and most of the stuff is stuff I already have. If I don't, the processors and the effects are pretty inexpensive comparatively. I consider inexpensive pretty much anything, any kind of software package you can get for under $100, because there's packages out there that are orchestral in nature and stuff that you can spend thousands on. And, you know, it's just crazy. It's just absolutely crazy. So doing a lot more templating now. That's coming up. I want to jump into lo-fi and dreamcore again. I want to do some more metal music. I haven't done a metal album in like 2 years. Jazz, some ambient stuff, and then get back into like some Christmas. And I think the Christmas stuff that I end up doing this year, if I can get to at least one album, is going to be all originals. I don't think I'm going to do any covers of public domain. I did that last year. I had fun with it. It was really, really cool, but I want to make some original content in that space, which is great. And I've never done light horror for kids. If I can't do a whole album, I'm going to try and do like an EP of like 3, 4, or 5 tracks that people can have that's light horror, you know, just kind of spooky and kid friendly. And it's like, ooh, you know, just like you'll know exactly like old Scooby-Doo stuff, like that kind of thing. That'll be fun. And that'll be great to put into things that don't want to scare the daylights out of you, you know? So, and then rounding out everything this year, I'm going to try and get into some more glitch, some more some African drums. I do have a couple tracks started in that genre that have been sitting. I was trying to get into polka. I'm probably not going to do meditation after I get through some of the binaural stuff. I think I'm done with meditation for the year. And there's this stuff called Etherwave. It's actually spawns off of a video game of a friend of mine, and I want to check into that. Some cyberpunk, more podcast stuff, maybe even some polka. Polka is going to take a little bit more. It's definitely a genre I haven't played with. And, 2/4 time is super jaunty and hoppy and quick pacing. So, yeah, I don't know. We shall see. We shall absolutely see what is in store for there. But we got all that going on. Again, I've got a movie shoot for a few days coming up next week. And then in August, I'm heading out to Creator Fest, which is now called Creator Hub, as I understand it. And that's another 3-day event in Orlando with a bunch of resources and everything to expand your space and your presence in the creator economy. Be interesting to see what comes up for new tech, new resources a year later. And also, it's going to be interesting to see what kind of pushback or support and adaptation has been happening with AI and AI tools. I know recently, literally last week, there was an article that was released talking about how YouTube has basically stated that they're not going to allow monetization on videos that are AI generated. So literally, if it's 100% AI generated and there's AI agents like doing this stuff automatically, and people think they're just going to create like this massive body of content, hands off, you're not going to monetize. I don't care if you've got 1 million followers on the channel. Apparently what they're trying to do, I know what they're trying to do if they haven't said it implicitly. They don't want this massive pile of like just congealed the same stuff over and over and over again. It's not in line with YouTube's creator policy. It's the same reason that they change the algorithm all the time. They want to make sure that they're providing the best content they can to the viewer. And if everything congeals into this massive, like the same, ubiquitous kind of like content, then I mean the platform will be rendered useless. I mean, it will basically create nothing. There'll be nothing of value to watch. And this is no judgment call on my side. This is literally just me reporting on the actual news article that came out. But point being is AI has gotten to the point, and AI usage and tool exploration and play and exploitation, let's call it what it is, to try and monetize and create content as fast as possible and get in front of as many people's faces as possible. It's hit a roadblock. And then the roadblock is, well, we don't, at least that platform, YouTube, doesn't want this monstrous amount of garbage coming onto the platform. So it's going to be interesting to see. I'm definitely going to query people in August at Creator Hub, be like, well, what are your thoughts and feelings on this? Because there's I was talking to Tom Seymour about this the other day, and he brought up a really interesting point. He said, okay, but what if, most of it is like a talk show that you have, and then you fill in B-roll with some of this AI stuff? Is that going to get flagged? And in my opinion, like, no, that's a creative choice with your platform and your show that allows you to kind of do things on the show that you otherwise couldn't. You didn't have the budget for, but you didn't rely on it 100%. So it just enhances the creativity of what you're doing. And it's not 100% of it, and it's not all automatic on rails by itself. So it's going to be really interesting. It's going to be really interesting how we navigate that over the next several months to a year and what evolves from that, because I do think there's some benefit to utilizing some of these tools. I mean, I'm using it here with Riverside. Riverside helps me edit this podcast at the end, takes out all the spaces, takes out the times when I say ums and ahs and whatever. And it's very helpful to me. I don't have the kind of time to sit down here and meticulously go through a podcast. I'm just looking to get information out to you guys and update you on things, interview some interesting people, and do walkthroughs of things when I have new features and stuff on my sites and on my social media. So it's incredibly helpful to me. And it also helps generate micro content. It'll look through the transcript and find areas that should be the highlights, and 90% of the time it's pretty accurate. Like, that's a highlighted thing for me to talk about and throw out as a reel or a TikTok or YouTube short. I absolutely love that functionality of this platform of Riverside. Hopefully that's not something that's going to get tagged or snagged or whatever, but I don't think that's what it is. I think it's the Veo 3, it's the Midjourney video generation, it's all that stuff that I think, when it's exclusively that, and it's not catered or curated, rather, in a way that shows a lot of originality and thought behind it. And it's just these things that are just getting fired out. That's what the problem is, I think. That's a real problem. And in the inverse, rather, there's been some talk recently about the Spotify platform and how there's whole artists that have hundreds of thousands of listeners a month, and they're not real. They're not real. So like they're not a touring band. They're not a band at all. Somebody's doing it through Suno or some combination of that. And it's really interesting. It's really interesting because the problem is some of it sounds halfway decent. And so what do you do? Like what's the next steps? You know, I personally don't want to taint my main catalog with any of that stuff. I use plenty of software, instrumentation, VSTs, and all of that stuff has some pretty advanced functionality to it, and enough tooling and ways of manipulating notes and manipulating play and instrumentation that I feel like it allows me to take what's here and put it down here and put it here for you. And I don't know that handing the reins to a piece of software to generate 90 to 100% of what I want to put out, that's not really me. That's not me. That's not my creative spark. That's not my channeling. It's not whatever it is that allows me to create the 850 songs I've done so far, and hopefully the next 1,200 plus to breach the 2,000 mark and beyond. Right now, we're just worried about the first 1,000 though. So let's get to 4 figures first, and then we'll worry about getting to the next 2. I'll definitely see a little bit of a slowdown next year. And what that means and equates to you guys is literally like, well, maybe I'll put out 50 less songs that year. This year is going to be close to 250, 275 if I actually hit the mark. But, 200 year over year, 200 to 200 plus songs. It's not easy. I mean, April and most of May, my brain just went, creative spark just kind of fizzled. So I kept doing the Monday, Friday, kept trying to do a little bit of new ideas here and there. And then what's starting to come out now is basically the byproduct of, well, I got nothing in me. Let's see what I can put down. I put down 3 or 4 ideas, sometimes little to nothing. And what ends up coming is the albums that I've just released and are the most recently listened to. It's, you never know. You never know when the creative spark's going to hit, and you never know when it's going to like kind of simmer. So when it simmered, I just started trying to have other experiences, like watching more movies, get into some video games, and really listen to the orchestrations in it, and listen to the movie music, and go to amusement parks and do other things. Like just do other things and have other human experiences. And you come back to the design table here, and you come back to the studio, and suddenly your cup runneth over with ideas. So you can't just create in this vacuum. It's not realistic, and honestly, you're not doing anybody any good creating in a vacuum, because you're not having real world experiences, and you can't translate those into some music or into movies or whatever it is. So we'll have more movie, by the way, we'll have more movie festival updates soon. Tom and I are doing the shoot next week, and then during that, or maybe the following week, I'll probably schedule a time to do an update with him. And I've been trying to Alex Nakarada. I want to get him back on the show too, because he's been doing a bunch of really cool stuff as well, and play catch up with him as well. I always love to see what he's doing out there. I'm always envious of his guitar riffing and his ability to do that, and love his stuff. So that'll be a good guest to have on as well. And some of the folks that I talked to earlier in the year, probably going to talk to at least 1 or 2 of them again, 3rd, 4th quarter this year as well, and catch up with them and see how their channels are doing, how their content's doing, and how they're navigating life and in this whole creator economy. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun, but it's a lot of work. But it's fulfilling because it's my work. Ultimately, it's a body of work that I'm building for myself, and hopefully you guys have some value in it, and you can use it in the things that you're doing on the internet, in movies, or just in life. So that's it. That's all I got for you this week. Thanks for coming by. Thanks for checking in, and see you next time. Take care.